Hello, welcome to Record Sports Hotline Live, brought to you by NordVPN. My name is Daniel Caw. I'm delighted to be joined on this Sunday evening by the one and only Keith Jackson. Keith, how's it going?
Not bad, Dan, not bad. An eventful Sunday.
Very eventful.
And big problems. I think Craig Swan's going to join us from Ibrox, hopefully in the next few minutes. Big problems for Rangers. What did we say after the European result? Derek McInnes didn't want to go on one of those runs without picking up a win. But that was even worse, to lose in almost the last kick of the ball at home to Hibs. 1 point from the first six. They're already in a really difficult position, just 2 games into the new season. Really difficult situation for Derek McInnes. He's come in with big expectations, and he'll know that the standard of performances that the team's turning in for him is nowhere near good enough, and he's got so much work to do in this transfer window. I think the other thing from a Rangers perspective, Dan, is before the game that Derek McInnes was confirming that Galatasaray have made an enormous bid for Youssef Chermiti, and the way that Chermiti went down, it didn't look particularly clever.
Looked a sore one.
So when things aren't going your way, if Galatasaray were ready to spend somewhere in the region of £22 million on Youssef Chermiti, and all of a sudden Youssef Chermiti's out of action for a prolonged period, that deal's collapsed. Rangers kind of everywhere they look right now, there's a problem.
See, just on the Chermiti stuff, Keith, I wanted to get your take on that. Rangers rejected the bid. I would have thought no harm to him or whatever. They would carry him barefoot over broken glass to Turkey for 22 million.
Look, if the opening offer's 22 million, I think Rangers probably think they can squeeze another 2 or 3 out of it. It's just business, isn't it? If you're selling your house, you very rarely accept the first offer. I happen to agree with you, Dan, in terms of I think it's a massive number for Youssef Chermiti. But if they're prepared to go 22 with the opening bid, I think Rangers might think they can squeeze, kind of strong arm another couple of million, £2-3 million out of that, which would be great business. But as I said, if Youssef Chermiti has had a right bad one there today, who knows how long he could be out for, and whether or not that puts any deal in the balance. Then I guess questions will be asked. If they had that sort of deal on the table for him, should he have started today's game? Celtic have got the same sort of issues going on with Alistair Johnson, Arnie Engels. Alistair Johnson had to come off at half time, and the one at Kilmarnock earlier on today because he'd felt something. So these are all the sort of risks and checks and balances that you have to take at this point in the season. But whatever Rangers do right now, they can't seem to do right for wrong.
As you mentioned, Keith, we're hopefully going to be joined any minute now by Craig Swan, who was at Ibrox for the game today. Before that, though, I wanted to get your take on the penalty that Hibs were awarded in the first half. Controversial to say the least. Yeah,
look, Dragojevic has got himself in a bad position there, hasn't he? He's not facing the ball. He's only dealing with the Hibs players at Kerr. But Kerr's got 2 hands on him as well. Look, if you want to kind of micromanage the game from the VAR studio, I suppose you could look at that. I suppose you could say that Dragojevic has got himself in a really clumsy position, and you could probably justify the decision. But honestly, I don't think that's a penalty kick. And I think, the fact that VAR took it upon itself to go and examine that and then, make the award, essentially. I know that the referee, Don Robertson, goes over at the sideline, so he looks at it. There's definitely a coming together, but it's real. To me, it was a 6 of one and half a dozen of the other there. To give a penalty kick for that, I'm sure that VAR will find a way of justifying it. I'm sure that Willie Collin will find a way of justifying it, but not for me.
Well, right on cue, we're joined by the one and only Craig Swan, who joins us live from Ibrox. Swanee, a massive result for Hibs, but still one for Rangers.
Yeah, incredible ending to the game. It just when it looked as though Hibs were going to hang on and get all the points, and then you had the late drama with the own goal that looked to give Rangers a lifeline, and then such a sting in the tail at the end. Just a remarkable ending, and just the sound of silence here at Ibrox was incredible at the full-time whistle. It was almost like stunned shock, which given what the Rangers fans have been through over recent years, you were almost surprised about it. They're probably so used to it, like punches in the guts. But that was a sore one today.
I was going to ask you, Swanee, what was the reaction like on the final whistle?
Yeah, more kind of disbelief. There wasn't so much anger, Keith. There was probably more points of anger during the second half when Rangers were huffing puffing trying to get the equaliser. There was probably more agitated, angry shouts then. I think the timing of the equaliser and then the fact that Hibs kind of won it when they did, it was almost stunned disbelief rather than fury at the end. So yeah, but not happy. Punter's not happy, obviously, even in stages of the first half. I mean, Hibs got the goal early. I mean, listen, you have both been and seen enough games to know what happens in that situation when the away team get the goal early doors. And Rangers struggled in the first period to make anything happen. So, yeah, not a happy day for Rangers, but a brilliant day for Hibs. Fabulous day for David Gray. I'm sure we'll come on to them in a minute.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if somebody at Rangers regrets going back with a strip that kind of was synonymous with some of the most barren years in the club's history. Because that sort of a performance, it kind of reminds you of, you know, how far away Rangers are from being ready to really put up a proper challenge for this title this season. I think Derek McInnes will get it right. I have to say, I think he's the right man for the job. But I just think that he's kind of hamstrung at this minute in time. So much dead wood left around that place from previous campaigns, a lot of scar tissue, a lot of players that think they're better than they are. And I think he's still having to rely on guys who have shown time and again they're simply not up to the job. So I think, you know, who was it we were having a conversation? Was it Mick Gannon or whoever it was last week, Dan, about Rangers not wanting to change too much too soon because that's what Russell Martin did? And I said, no. There's a difference between changing the personnel and trying to reinvent the wheel, which was what Russell Martin was trying to do. Derek McInnes to try and simplify the game for Rangers. But there's too many of these who can't be trusted. And I think he's going to have to weed them out as quickly and as many of them as he possibly can between now. What is it, 3 weeks left in the window, Swanee? A lot.
Yeah, and listen, it's going to how many times do we go over this movie season after season after season? I think somebody pointed out the start last week that this is the 6th season in a row Rangers have started with a new manager. Is that right? So something like that. I mean, it's 3 games. 3 games. It's going to take more than 3 games to sort out years and years of mishaps at this football club. That is the bottom line. It can't be expected that Derek McInnes is just going to come in and fix it straight away. Now, that's not me standing here and say he's going to do it and it's all going to be brilliant. But what I'm saying is, at this moment in time, it's a big ask to be expecting everything to be turned around and Rangers to be playing flowing football and that kind of stuff at this stage. Was that a disappointing performance today? Yes. But he'll know the reasons why. And Rangers fans are going to have to show a bit of patience here. Or else we're just having the same conversations time and time again. It's 3 games. And let's not forget, Hibs played well today. Yeah. They dug in and they battled and they fought. Something that's a finger that gets a pointed finger gets accused at Hibs quite a lot. That's the bit that they don't have. Well, they dug in and fought today. And when they lost that, it was heartbreaking for them the way they lost the equaliser, given the fact they had good possession, gave the ball away at the edge of their own box. And then it's an OG. And they still have the courage to go and win it. So, you know, sometimes you've got to look at 2 teams in the pitch. Rangers didn't do enough, but Hibs did great today.
Yeah. And they enjoy Ibrox now, Swanee. Is that not the 3rd season in a row they've gone to Ibrox and got a win?
Yeah, 3rd season.
Yeah, that's 2 in a row, yeah, because they won in May, didn't they? Right at the end of the season, so I think it's 2 games out of 3. Rangers have 2 games out of 3 or 2 games out of 2. Rangers have had at Ibrox and Hibs have won. It might have been the last home game of last season, wasn't it? The James Tavernier night. So
yeah, that's right.
Twice in a row. And I keep harking back to it, but it's, you know, David Gray, this was a tricky period for him. You know, the tie with the Macedonians, that opening day defeat to Motherwell was a sore one. You're wondering what was going to happen with Europe. You know they've got Ibrox on the horizon the following Sunday. They managed to get over the line, the European tie. That's a massive result. And if and it's a massive ask, and again we might go on to it later, if they could get over that hurdle in Macedonia on Thursday night, you're talking about a cracking start to the season. But one step at a time for them. That's 3 big points after that opening day.
Yeah, big momentum behind them at this point. And you're right, Swanee, because when a week or so ago, people were starting, there was a lot of mumping and moaning getting done about David Gray and whether or not he should be staying in that position. But you know, he's every time he gets himself into a sticky spot, he seems to turn it around and get a result and dig himself up. And that result today will go a long way to doing that with the Hibs fans.
Yeah. So, sorry, Daniel, go on.
No, sorry, I didn't mean to cut in there, Sonny. I was just going to say that we're getting lots of comments from Rangers fans, understandably. Fraser says that we're getting sick and tired of hearing it's going to take time. Rangers are saying, what is it?
But that's the problem. If they keep changing managers, then it's going to take more time. Rangers fans are going to have to stick with a manager. They're going to have to stick with one and give them the chance to fix it. Because if you only have a short time and then fall behind Celtic, and the grumbling starts again, and then he's replaced, and then you're back to square one. Give that a chance.
This comment says Russell Martin now looks like Pep. I don't know about that, but they've signed 9 players, I think it is so far, Rangers, Keith, and they don't look particularly different from last season.
No, they don't, which will obviously be a concern for Derek McInnes. It's the same old failings, it's the same old mistakes. I just personally think there's too many of these players that have been around, kind of stunk the place out for a season or two, haven't ever looked as if they were going to achieve, and when the pressure has come on them, they've folded like a cheap suit. Too many of these guys. So that's why the more players that Derek McInnes can get in, the more he can get out, the better this summer. Because it's clear that changes are required. I actually thought a couple of the new guys looked okay today. Kota, I think, looked...
Hey, Kota looked good, Keith. What I really liked about him was his attitude and his industry. Now, I think you've seen from the Celtic Japanese players across the city what you get from these lads. But what was really encouraging from him was he kept demanding the ball, he kept wanting it, hug the touchline, give it to me. Now, that's the hardest place to play when your team is struggling and the fans are on your case. It's right on the touchline. And he kept demanding it, he kept wanting it. Now, you can argue, I think I said myself in my match stuff, that from a Rangers winger and a home game, there wasn't enough end product. But you can see that it could be there. But he didn't hide. That was the key thing. He didn't hide when several other people did. Some again, guys going missing again when they shouldn't be going missing.
Absolutely.
So I think his attitude was good. I thought Fernandes sloppy again. Yeah. Just so sloppy, just so lethargic, just going through the motions. Rangers need a goal to get back into the game at 1-0. And the lethargy within the passing from the back, you need crisp out from the back, get into the midfield players' feet, get them on the half turn and get them moving. A lot of the sluggishness from Rangers through the middle of the pitch comes for the guys at the back not moving the ball in quick enough. He just ambles around, and then if you're going to do that, at least do your job defensively. Where is he in injury time? Still
he was up on the edge of the Hibs box doing a pirouette at one point. But against one end, I don't want to kind of come down on him like a ton of bricks, because I feel like after every game, you're looking at his performance and saying that's nowhere near good enough. I think Derek McInnes will know that's nowhere near good enough. Derek McInnes has built his whole career on having defenders who know first and foremost that they're there to defend.
Yeah.
And Fernandes
right the way back, Ash Taylor, Stuart Finlay, Joe Wright, Lewis Mayo,
Craig Halkett
again at Hearts, Craig Halkett. I don't know.
So I don't think that
see how he can give much time to that.
I don't think he can. But what options has he got right now? I mean, you saw that back four. Dragojevic playing it right back. I mean, it kind of shows you he's having to try and piece this together. It's like spinning plates.
Although the flip side of that, I suppose, would be if you're going to bring in a right back and Ross McCrory, then you really should be playing. You would have thought, unless there was some sort of injury issue there. You wonder what the story is there, but he came on in the second half, so he's obviously available. So that seemed like a strange one to me, but we haven't heard what Derek McInnes has got to say after the game yet, so we might find out the reasoning for it. I haven't been down the stairs yet, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. So, Sonny, we mentioned Yusuf Chermiti, his injury. I just wondered if you'd heard any update on that at all.
Not yet. I've not been down the stairs yet. You haven't got to have us on too early, Daniel. If you're delayed, I would be able to tell you what was happening. But I don't know. We haven't been down the stairs to get the prognosis, the diagnosis yet. But I mean, I don't know if there was TV pictures or whatever, if you guys saw it today, but the hand over his face and all that when he was coming off in the stretcher, that's not a good sign.
It didn't look great. It looked as if he might have turned his knee or opened up his knee.
Yeah.
He was trying to nick the ball back on the byline. It just seemed something as it was going down, and right away, that, as you said, the hand came up.
And there's serious implications there, Keith, as well for that, because the feeling being that Rangers might have to, they've paid out a bit of money so far, and there might be a big sale required to help fund the rest of what Derek McInnes wants. Now, we know about the bid that's been knocked back for Chermiti. That would obviously be increased. That might have been one of the big guys is going to have to go. Now, if it ends up Chermiti's out, I'm jumping the gun here, because by the time people watch this, it may have been, he's only going to be a fortnight. We don't know. But if he happened to be out for a long period of time, then it's another one that has to be sold. That's 2 out the team.
Yeah. And there will be an argument now as well, Swanee, about what Galatasaray at the table, and they're opening up with a bid of £22 million. Should Chermiti have been anywhere near that team today? Is another question that will probably get asked. We were saying Celtic started with Alistair Johnson and Engels at Rugby Park earlier on today. Alistair Johnson had to come off at half time because he felt something. And these are just the sort of calculations and risks.
I think on that front, Keith, I would have absolutely no blame attached to Derek McInnes for that one. He's a football manager. If the club up above him kick a bid out, he's entitled to pick him. Same way as the Celtic management team are perfectly entitled. They can't say, they've got to pick Engels and Johnson and guys like that. You've got to. I think so anyway. But especially your first home game is in the Premier League.
Yeah, he's desperate to get that win. But do you know something, Swanee? And I don't know what you feel about this, but so Rangers are obviously thinking they might be able to squeeze another few quid out of Galatasaray, and that's pretty reasonable. That's the good way to do business. But for me, there must be a temptation to take, even at 22. There must be a big temptation. Let's do that deal, because Chermiti is actually like the kind of forward version of Fernandes. He's got that sort of lackadaisical bit about him. He's got loads of potential, huge. And Yusuf Chermiti, he doesn't produce, he doesn't deliver it enough. And I think if Rangers could, if he's okay, and this isn't going to be a sort of a long time on the sidelines, and Galatasaray are still able to do a deal from this summer, I think Rangers have got to bite their arm off for that money.
Yeah, I think so, Keith. And we suspect, then you've been involved in enough transfer windows to know this is how it starts. The word gets out that that's the fee and that's not it, and then you hopefully start a bidding war if that's the plan. But I'm sure Derek McInnes has got his eye on a replacement. So you maybe want to try and get the deal done quickly, because the same thing will happen to you when you start bidding for players.
Yeah.
And the selling team will start pushing the prices up. So, whatever. I'm sure we'll find out over the coming days. Well, maybe we won't. But the reason why the money was turned down. But it's certain, if those figures are correct, it certainly looked tasty enough. If I was the chairman, I'd have been taking it.
Yeah, and if you take that sort of money in for Chermiti now, it will help in terms of expediting the other stuff that you're trying to expedite. The other stuff that you're trying to do. If you're struggling to get a deal over the line for the boy at PSV, because there's 2 or 3 other clubs that are all, that would just give you that little bit of leeway and an added financial muscle to be able to do these deals. And I think that's what I keep coming back to. Derek McInnes needs as many deals, as many new arrivals in this summer as he can get his hands on, because the whole thing needs ripped up and started again from a Rangers perspective. And I actually do believe that McInnes is the right man for the job. But, you can see the extent of the task that he's taken on.
Can I just add something as well, Keith? I think what happens in these situations as well is, I think it's quite important, this, because I've seen it happen at a few clubs before. And certainly at Rangers, Derek McInnes knows he needs to change these things over, and he's probably brought in some good players. He needs to get the team changed quickly enough that these good players don't go off the rails already. Do you know what I mean? It can only take 5 or 6 games for somebody to lose their confidence. The lad that started it right back today, with the things that happened to him with the penalty decision, and then he's looked a bit spooked after that. Mm-hmm. If the Japanese lad starts to struggle a wee bit because the team's under pressure, and then he starts getting hounded, by the time you fix the team, those guys are already under a cloud. When you bring in, I heard somebody talking last week. It was a good example of, Celtic have been in this brilliant position where they've been able to bring players in and they don't hit the ground running straight away. Nicholas Kuhn didn't for 6 months. People are like, what about Nicholas Kuhn? He's not very good. But if Celtic were second to Rangers, Nicholas Kuhn would have been getting hounded at the door. Arne Engels, 6 months before he settles in. Now he's 25 million because Celtic were a winning team and they were able to give these guys the time to settle into their roles. Rangers need that for the new guys that they've signed.
Yeah.
Or else they're going to end up ruined as well before the turnover happens. It's a tricky period, this.
You just need to look back to Oliver Antman, who came in.
Yeah.
He came in and had an absolute worldie of a debut, didn't he, in Europe for Rangers, and was never seen at that level ever again.
Yeah.
And that is, and that's what they say when it comes down to recruitment. It's the X factor that you're looking for if you're Celtic or Rangers or one of these clubs that has to deal. The players have to deal with the weight of the shirt, the pressure that's on them, the environment. It's okay being a good football player, but you need to have that other part of your psyche that you can, thrive in that environment rather than wilt. And too many of the guys that Rangers have brought in, this recruitment department has brought in, they've wilted because it's been my belief for some time, the recruitment department at Rangers, if you don't know what it is that you're actually looking for, how can you find it? You can get lucky, you can stumble across one or two, but Rangers, the recruitment department, to me, has been guilty of going after players that just weren't cut out for the environment that they're asking to play.
I'm referring back to Celtic again, but I'll name two names: one from a past transfer window and one from a current transfer window. Alistair Johnson and Casper Hu. Casper Hu looks as bold as brash.
Yeah.
Being a Celtic striker, bring it on. Alistair Johnson, bring it on.
Yeah.
And there's been plenty of guys like that have gone in the door at Celtic, so guys that keep going, that no problem.
The other thing at Celtic, Swanee, you're quite right, but the other thing you've got at Celtic is that solid foundation, the backbone of the place, your Callum McGregors, your James Forrest. And these guys are coming in, they've been taught from day one about what this place is, what the demands are. They become indoctrinated into Celtic. They get it because there's so many guys in that dressing room or around Lennox that absolutely get it. Rangers, that's another thing. Derek McInnes is going to have to start from scratch. Yeah,
Celtic have been able to lean on the Callum McGregor, James Forrest thing for a long time. It was Scott Brown before that.
Yeah.
Obviously, and that's something that will continue. Kieran Tierney will carry that on. Then when, probably James Forrest will be the first one to finish up. Callum McGregor will probably finish up playing at Celtic the same way as play right through until maybe he's mid-30s, and Kieran Tierney will pick up the baton. So that Celtic got that for another 3-4 years. What age is Kieran Tierney? 28?
29.
Yeah. 29, so that's at least 4 years where they're going to have that backbone in there. By which time, who knows what's going to happen? Cameron Carter-Vickers might stay for, you don't know, he might have developed into the next one that's won so many leagues, and he's educating them all into this, that and the next thing. So a very important thing to keep, that core. It doesn't have to be Scottish, it just has to be people who know the building and know how to win.
Know it inside out, that's right, and Celtic have bedded that in. That's stitched into the fabric now. 14 years and 15 years.
Yeah,
that's what Rangers must now try and aspire. But they're having to start from a standing start, and that's why people will probably, I think people will go to a kind of snap reaction with Derek McInnes because you can feel it already, and that's the result of years of Rangers underperforming. Patience is so thin in the ground, but Rangers fans won't want to hear it, but they're going to have to be patient here because Derek McInnes is only laying the foundations now for trying to emulate what Celtic have done across the city. Yeah,
I suppose the difference with Derek McInnes, you would say, is the fact that Rangers fans have seen it with their own eyes that he can deliver in this league. So he's got that CV to do that. Mm-hmm. So that's the one thing that puts him ahead of, say, a Clement or a Beale or a Russell Martin or something like that. Yeah. He's done it, a Danny Rowell, he's done it in this league. But I feel like how many years have we been doing Hotline Live now? 1, 2? I feel like you said it twice at the start of both seasons. Rangers fans might have to just suck it up for a bit.
Yeah.
And order for the greater good for the longer, but we said that 2 years ago and it didn't happen. We said it last year. And to be fair, the Rangers fans were probably right with Russell Martin. We've got to give him credit on that one. That was so bad that it couldn't be saved. But, it's going to take time. You don't lose 14 titles out of 15 and turn that around in 2 weeks.
It's fair comment. Just before we let you go, Swanee, just one last one on Hibs. AGSC Tech is one of a few people giving a lot of love to Josh Mulligan. He says he calmly passed the ball out of the chaos instead of an uncultured blooter. That sets up the goal for the Hibs winner. We have a talented Scot on our hands. I think he's been linked this week.
I said during the game, I've got nothing against Cammy Devlin. Like Cammy Devlin, like his industry, like his effort. Hibs have two better midfield players than Cammy Devlin, in my opinion. Josh Mulligan and Miguel Chaiwa. Better midfield players.
I'd probably go along with that, Keith.
Players.
I like Mulligan. I think Mulligan's an absolute cracker.
Yeah.
And he's probably one of these guys that's destined for bigger than better than Hibs. But Hibs should enjoy him while they've got him. It was a shrewd bit of business going and getting him. And, you know, you see him in that atmosphere in a place like Ibrox, and you can see it inspires him. It gets more out of him.
One of those boys that gets his chest out, Keith.
Absolutely so.
In that situation, runs with the ball. Get to me, I'll deal with it. A lot of things that some of the Rangers players don't. I'm capable of doing when the heat's on.
Swanee, it's an absolute pleasure having you on Hotline Live as ever, but we'll let you get on with your post-match duties. Thanks so much for joining us.
All right, boys, all the best. Speak to you soon.
Cheers, Swanee.
Cheers, Swanee. Safe travels up the road. Craig Swan there from Ibrox. Keith, it's one of those episodes where I'm struggling to keep up with the comments. There's so many of them. But let me throw a few of them at you just now. David says, Rangers get knocked out of Europe, Daniel. The manager's in big trouble. AJSC says, McInnes lost a lot of quality last season. Moore, Tavernier, Magoma, Olsen, Aarons, Giga, Cornelius, and even Ant-Man is reaping the bad harvest of a team built on loans. Bronton says Rangers potentially 8 points behind Celtic now. If they lose the next Old Firm game, is the title over already? I mean, 2 games in. People are actually asking us if the title's over.
It's a bad start. You know, how many times have we seen over the years Rangers clawing back 5 points? It's not happened that often, has it? So they're right up against it. There's not a lot of further room for error. They're going to have to start posting some wins and keeping themselves, because I think what Derek McInnes wants first and foremost is to be competitive in the top flight this season. But 1 point from the first 6 is not a good start. And he'll know that himself. And he knows that the pressure will be coming on him now, because he needs to, as I said, the most important thing for him right now is to find a way of winning games and building some momentum and you know, keeping, because I think the Rangers supporters will, mostly, for the most part, they'll stick with him, but not indefinitely. He knows he's going to have to start winning games of football.
Right. One of the other several other comments, Keith, that we're getting in goes back to the point that was made about Dragicevic. Yellow him up, it says, why McCrory didn't start biggest belief. Even worse, putting Finlay at right back. Drago, a midfield player, playing in his position, God's sake, what's going on? Sorry, that's the wrong one. David says, criminal playing Drago at right back when he was captain of his previous club midfield. Says the manager's clueless. He hasn't got a clue, but starting 11 is, it's just not good enough. I was really surprised to see him at right back.
What did I say about most Rangers fans will probably have a bit of patience and stick with it? Thanks, and just torpedoed that with one message. Look, is Ross McCrory good enough to be a starter for Rangers at right back? Not in my book. I think if you're actually looking at who he's replacing at right back, i.e. James Tavernier. Now, James Tavernier was a guy that Rangers fans love to have a moan up about. He's a very good football player. He's an excellent right back, and he weighed in. So what you're looking to do, if you're trying to take Rangers to the next step, is upgrade all across the pitch and upgrade in specific positions. And I don't think that Ross McCrory is ever going to be an upgrade on James Tavernier. I think he's probably a good guy to have around the squad, but I think you've got a problem if he's your starting right back. And I think that Derek McInnes probably realised that. He probably thought today that the fullbacks might see a lot of the ball. And I thought Ross McCrory looked a bit nervous, looked terrified actually in the European game when he was on the ball. And I think that Derek McInnes was trying to, he was playing a midfielder there, but thinking that he'll be able to step into the midfield, step into the play and build stuff, with passing out from the back. And so I understood it, but again, it kind of points to all the issues that still need resolved. Rangers need more quality. I think Dujon Sterling would probably be a first pick at right back, and possibly an upgrade, certainly defensively on James Tavernier. But this is the issue, defensively is one thing. Rangers, when they're at home, for the vast majority of games that they'll play in the top flight this season, they're not going to be really up against it defensively. They're picked apart there today because they were sloppy. Swanee said it. Fernandes just doesn't do the fundamentals. But if you defend properly and robustly and pay proper attention, you should be able to get away with playing more attack-minded people at fullback. Ross McCrory and Dujon Sterling, you would bracket in more defensive right-backs rather than guys that are going forward. Put it this way, you've got two Romans on the left-hand side, and Rangers could do with one of them on the right.
Absolutely. And that just last thing on Rangers, Keith Sugarman says, Asgard best player last week, bench this. I was surprised at that as well.
Yeah, well, look, I wasn't really surprised because what did we say after the European game? Asgard is a talented boy. His problem is, can he put it together? Can he string 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games together where he's the best player on the pitch, where he looks like he's going to be a difference maker? Because it goes into the European game and he was poor. So if he can't find that level of consistency, then he's going to struggle to keep his place in the team. Derek McInnes is searching right now. You can see that. He's searching what his best 11 looked like. And I think the other night, on Thursday night, when Devlin and Raskin went onto the pitch, the whole kind of shape and balance of the Rangers side looked so much better. And he's obviously looked at that and thought, well, I'll have more of that in this game. Now, that means somebody's got to drop out, and it was Stella Asgard. He also had to go back into the team, presumably. So that meant going with the two strikers. But right now, Derek McInnes is a manager who's still reaching and searching for what his strongest 11 looks like. And he might not work that out for a few weeks yet. It might not work out until the transfer window's closed and he's left with what he's got. Because right now, the emphasis, I think, will be get more quality in.
Well, Andrew Kavanagh was there today, Keith. Do you think that they will push the boat out in the final couple of weeks of the window?
Yeah, well, ironically, that might help him. The fact that Andrew Kavanagh's there, he's seen it. The Rangers guys, they have to understand what the problems are that Derek McInnes is facing, and they have to understand that it's going to take a level of investment and spending to help provide them with what's required to get Rangers into a competitive state. They've been miles off it for so long. He's having to play players that have proven themselves to be untrustworthy over a period of time now. And that's what I keep coming back to. The quicker he can get bodies out and new ones in and sort of recalibrate the whole thing, the better. They're getting there. They've got numbers and they've brought in 9. But I still think they're crying out for a wee bit added quality. Yokota, I think, looks as if he will, as Swanee said, as long as it doesn't get sucked out of him, he looks bright. He looks as if he's going to make a bit of a difference in the final third. But I think they could do with 2 or 3 players of a similar standard that can, make things happen in that final third of the pitch. Because that's where Rangers, again, they had plenty of the ball against Hibs today. I think Yokota put one on a plate for Chermiti, got cleared off the line, but he's got to score that goal. If you're a top class, put it this way, if I'm Galatasaray, I'm spending 22 million, that ball's got to be nestling in the roof of the net. It shouldn't. I just thought it was sloppy, and I think that's Rangers all over, and it's been Rangers all over for some time. They're sloppy.
Obviously, time is getting away from us, Keith, but we need to talk about Celtic. Massive win for them today. In the comments, Rebel says, how good were Celtic today? Stroking the ball about and quick attacks like Ange ball. Who looks the business? And William says, as a Celtic man, this Casper Who and Duran look bang at it. If they start getting out of first gear, they will blow this league up. It was a pretty sensational performance from Who in the first half, Keith. Yeah,
do you know what I like, Dan? And, obviously he didn't have a great debut against Dundee. But I said after that game, you can't judge the guy in his first 90 minutes. And I also said that after that performance, what I did like about him is he's got this knack for getting into the right areas, making these good runs in the box. He knows where the danger is. You don't get yourself into these positions. The amount of positions, if you actually tally them up now, today and on Monday against Dundee, the amount of times he's found himself in a goal-scoring position. And what Celtic were needing him to do was add the clinical touch. Well, he added that today. 3 times he added it, hit the post in the second half. This boy, with those sort of instincts and intelligence, he could score an absolute barrel load between now and the end of the season. because Celtic will create chances, and he has this sixth sense. You can see it. He's got great movement, great awareness, and he he's peeling off people into pockets, just little areas of the penalty box where he knows instinctively he's going to get a shot away. That's why it was worth Celtic spending that kind of money. And I know Celtic's board might not like spending money, but that's what you get. If you're prepared to push the boat out, if you're prepared to go and buy quality, you get a guy like Casper Who, and I think, I think I would already say it's a safe bet that he'll smash right through the 20-goal barrier this season. And who knows? He's going to get, supplied with a lot of opportunities in front of goal. And today shows that more often than not, he's probably going to take them.
It's not an exaggeration, Keith, to say he could have had 2 hat-tricks. I mean, the first half, the Kelly goalkeeper stopped him twice, 2 really good saves, and as you say, hit the post. It was, from a Kilmarnock point of view, it wasn't great.
No, listen, Kilmarnock were kamikaze squad today, weren't they? But, what I like about Casper Who is, as I said, it's that instinct. You don't get into those positions as many times as he did today, and again, even on Monday night. That doesn't happen by accident. That's a guy that knows where the goal is and knows how to threaten it. So yeah, I think that's really encouraging. I thought Celtic. It was actually I quite enjoyed the contest for about half an hour or so. I thought, although Celtic took an early lead, you saw that Kilmarnock were playing their way into the game. They were being brave, perhaps naively so, with the amount of bodies that they were getting forward. They always looked as if they might be vulnerable. See, when Celtic got on top and really got on top, it looked they could have scored. It could have been 5, 6, whatever you like. And I think Kilmarnock really started to suffer a little bit as the goals went in. Obviously, you see Nygren there gets an absolute gift for a 4th goal right at the start of the second half, and any chance that Kilmarnock thought they might have had of getting back into the game at that point, that was they threw it away. As I said, it was kamikaze stuff from Kilmarnock today. But the longer the game went on, the more Celtic players, you could see they were enjoying themselves. They look like a team that believes that they're going to score, and they're going to score heavily in games this season.
Here's one for you, Keith, and it's maybe one for Celtic fans in the comments. Let us know your thoughts. But Camilo Duran is getting a lot of love in the comments. He obviously started on the right, cutting in on his left foot. Who was up top and Nygren just behind him. Martin O'Neill has spoke about Duran playing centrally behind Who. So if you do that, where would you play Nygren?
Well, that's a good point, because that would be, I don't know. You wonder if Martin O'Neill might think of going back in history, go the 3-5-2 to try and get two central strikers. I don't know. Right now, it's not broken, Dan, is it?
Yeah, that's true.
And Duran has played out wide for previous clubs, so he can do it. Whether or not he enjoys it as much as playing central, I'm not sure. But look, there are really positive signs. The thing that Celtic have got to do, I've written about this for my column actually tomorrow, is Martin O'Neill's not there today. And as we've said previously, Hotline Live, everybody else is wishing him a really speedy recovery.
Absolutely.
Good to know that it was, nothing too serious. It's a little bit of a scare, but he should be back in the saddle soon enough, and that's great. What we'll probably never know is what part of, if any part of it was stress related, because let's get it right. This is a stressful business. It's in a city where the environment is harsh, and Martin O'Neill's got a big job trying to front up Celtic right now. It's a dysfunctional Celtic behind the scenes, and what he needs is, when he goes back to his work and he pulls the tracksuit back on, wouldn't it be good if the Celtic board had turned around and said to him, by the way, I know we were a bit kind of sluggish doing our business there, but here you are, here's players 3, 4 and 5 that you wanted. They're there. I think they've got an obligation to do that for him, and a duty of care for Martin O'Neill. They can't make this job more stressful and harder for a 74-year-old man than it already is. They've got to be helping him. And I think it's really incumbent upon the board now to get their finger out and make this as comfortable a job for Martin O'Neill as it possibly can be. They've been guilty of being very short term. And people might, you could look at the appointment of Martin O'Neill, give it 1 season, maybe 2 more seasons, whatever it is. It's short term stuff, but see, to give him the best shot of succeeding and doing everything that Martin O'Neill wants to do in this sort of fairy tale sequence that he's got, they have to give him the players, because you've got Alistair Johnson, you've got Engels, that look as if they could be away. Rio Hatate can't get off the bench, tells you that he's probably going to be away. They've already lost a lot of players from last season's squad, albeit most of them sort of fringe guys. But it's really incumbent upon Celtic to use these next 3 weeks wisely and to give Martin O'Neill a really fair crack at the whip for the rest of the season. They're in a really strong position. I hope that doesn't count against them. I hope that they don't look across the city and look at Rangers and say, well, they're already trailing by 5 points. What's the panic here? Why do we need to go and splurge? Casper Ho, his 3 goals today tells the Celtic board everything they need to know. That's what you get if you're prepared to go and push at the boat a little bit, go the extra mile. You can equip yourself with players that are difference makers, guys that will win you football matches. And Celtic, they've got a strong 11, but there's not too much beneath the surface. They need more. Martin O'Neill needs more quality, and you would like to think that, given everything that's just happened, Celtic board will understand that it's their responsibility to furnish him with
it. You get what you pay for, I guess. Last thing on Celtic, Keith, Arnie Engels is getting a lot of praise in the comments. Maka says, thought Engels was top class today. Mark also says you can see why Engels has been so coveted. I did think it was one of the best performances put in a Celtic jersey. And look, he's divided opinion a bit, Arnie Engels, but I think he's going to prove very hard to replace.
Yeah, well, he will. And he is. You can tell when he's at the real top of his game, he's Rolls Royce material. That's why there is interest in him. From down south, Nottingham Forest ready to pay 25 million last season. There is something there, Arne Engel. I just don't think that he brings it out often enough, if you know what I mean by that. I think he should be capable of dominating midfields, of dominating games, and I don't see it enough from him. So again, I have to say, much like Rangers and Chermiti, if you can get that sort of money for Arne Engels, I think it's a no-brainer for Celtic. I do think he's a talented boy. I just don't see enough from him. Today was, and credit to him, by the way, because if his head's turned, if his attention is elsewhere, you don't get that level of performance. So he's also, showed today a level of professionalism by totally focusing on what was in front of him, and that was 3 points at Rugby Park.
Yeah. And the last thing we need to touch on today, Keith, our resident Hearts fan, McKenna, is absolutely buzzing. He says 4-0 to the boys in maroon. We also hit the woodwork. Shame we've lost Kizzy for 1.7 million. Thought he was worth more. Just for Hearts to finally get a win, obviously in emphatic fashion, but they would have taken a win in any form today, wouldn't they?
Yeah, but the goals help. I mean,
aye.
I think that'll change the mood music around Tynecastle. I think there was a lot of concern. I did say to you before the first leg against Benfica that I feared the worst. I thought that might be a long, difficult evening. It proved to be exactly that. So to turn it around in that fashion, to score 4 goals at home, it just gives them a platform, and they were desperately needing it. And we were talking about Wouter Rankin and wondering if he's going to be one of these guys who doesn't have Lady Luck on his side, because he just couldn't catch a break. Whatever was happening, the worst thing in the world was to have to go to Benfica. So he must have went into today's game knowing that he needed a performance, he needed a result, he needed to start changing, as I said, the mood music, and that'll have gone a long way to calming some people down around Tynecastle. I think some nerves were getting frayed. It was always going to be, same as Derek McInnes at Ibrox, it was always going to be a difficult start to this season for Hearts, because new guy having to get in the door and lay down his own sort of foundations. Some more of that would go a long way to getting the positivity back at Tynecastle, because we really want to be punching our weight again this season.
Aye, absolutely. Maka says Kizzy was all bra and no boobies. which is a funny comment I couldn't resist putting up. But 1.7 million, Keith, that's a wee bit on the cheap side, I'd have thought. Thought he was really good last season.
Yeah, well, maybe you're just getting a wee insight into the way that Jamestown plans to operate. You know, that this is, you go in, you buy low. You don't need to, get absolute ridiculous money in for these players. I actually think 1.7 is probably just about right. I think because he'd started last season really impressively. I thought he tailed away a little bit. And if Hearts, look, if everybody that comes in through Jamestown and they can make a significant profit on each and every one of them, then that starts to tick over, doesn't it? And it means there's more money to play with in the transfer market. Listen, I think Kizarides, yeah, if you could have pushed it to 2.5, probably that'd be a better price for him. But 1.7, I'm not sure that he was going to obviously have that much of an impact on the starting 11 this season. That was obviously the case because they're happy to take 1.7 for.
Aye, Reynolds as well, getting a lot of praise in the comments section. He scored today for Hearts, of course. But Keith, I think that brings us to the end of Sunday night's Hotline Live, brought to you by NordVPN. Massively appreciate all the comments have been out of control tonight, Keith. I've honestly struggled to keep up with them, but we appreciate it. And we should say a big thank you as well to Craig Swan at Ibrox. And Keith, to yourself, it's always a pleasure.
Thank you, Dan. We'll see you tomorrow.
We'll be back to do it all again at 6 p.m. tomorrow. Hope you can join us then. Thanks for watching.